Hello everyone, Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel. It's nice to be back. I've had a week off from making videos on the channel, focusing solely on preparation for this week because it is Yearly Favourites Week, and here, of course, I have the first of these for 2019, my top 30 remixes in bass music from the last 12 months. Now, I said this last year, but I think remixes of whatever kind aren't really appreciated as much as I feel they should be, or get the recognition that they deserve, because they're incredibly important in the dark electronic music scene, in my opinion. I think an opinion shared by many, transforming our understanding of original ideas and rehashing and refashioning them in new and innovative ways. From your standard remix to VIPs, edits, flips, bootlegs, and much more, they come in a wealth of forms, all of which are accepted for this list. Basically, if it's an edit of an original track, it's considered for this video. As always, a couple of rules to run through here before I get going, some of which are particular to this video and others apply to all Yearly Favourites videos of this week. There can only be one entry per artist per video, in this case the remixer, and this is to keep the lists as varied and diverse as possible and give as many different musicians a chance, etc. With this video, because it's all about the remixers, you could have a particular original artist twice. So, for example, I could have two Skrillex songs remixed by different people, just to give a very simple example. But you can't have the same original song, so again, to use a very simple example, you couldn't have one Skrillex song remixed by two different people. Again, this is for variety purposes, of course. In each video, I will highlight a list of special mentions to begin with, those that are very, very, very good, but which don't quite excel enough to get into the main list, before working down gradually from the top number in that list to number one, talking about them more as I go on to reflect their positioning on that list. Also, in the description of each video, there will be a playlist of the list in question, including special mentions. Lastly, and before we get going here, and please remember this with each of these videos, this is solely one opinion, my opinion. I'm not giving any objective views here. It's all about how they make me feel in this video, my favourites of 2019, those that I've enjoyed most out of the tens of thousands that I've heard this year. So by all means, in this and any of the following Yearly Favourites videos, feel free to voice your thoughts on all of my opinions in the comments section down below, which, you know, for me is the best part. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the best dark electronic music of this year. Let's get some good conversation going. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time we get cracking on with this first list, and we start with the special mentions for the best remixes of 2019 in bass music. And here we go, just gonna leave this screenshot here for a bit. Give it a quick look, pause the screen, whatever. In bold is the remixer, and they're in alphabetical order. And now for number 30. And at number 30, we have the Control Freak remix of Hand Crushed by a Mallet by 100 gecs, of course. This song is a lot of what I love about dubstep, the gritty, raw, guttural delivery, really nice dynamic between all the sounds in the heaviest parts, and it takes from the original in all the right ways in my opinion, excelling on a lot of fronts, so yeah. To kick things off, top stuff. At number 29, we have the Code Pandorum VIP of Death Squad. This is quite simply Code Pandorum in his most emphatic, impressive form, full throttle, relentless, remorseless. It just kinda hurls itself at you in super quick format. A simple layout, but a great way of delivering his sound. It's pretty huge. At number 28, we have the Hasta More remix of Tantra by ATLiens, a very, very finely cut, dark, full of life banger here. One of those where you just have to appreciate the impact of the idea, in my opinion, how it's put together with so much going on. A little bit short, but really, really makes itself known. It's striking. At number 27, we have the Clipper remix of Bloke Anthem by Supercool, The Lion, Exton, and Cybersex. Definitely up there with my favourite interval tracks all year. I love the contrast between super euphoric and gnarly and demonic here. So much of it very melodically on point as well. The dynamic between sounds is there. There's a key change halfway through, a sense of story. Yeah, there is a lot going for this one. Following on from there, number 26, we have the Anx House flip of Crankin by Barely Alive and Eliminate. One of the best first impressions for me in recent memory in terms of hearing a particular producer or artist for the first time. This track completely flips the original on its head in a wild, clever, exuberant way. We'll say and spoil no more of it. Massive, massive recommend. Everyone has to check out this banger. Next up, number 25, we have the GTA remix of For Mind by Dogblood. A remix that I think engages the best parts of the original and which also makes it more fun with those festival influence drops, really delivers on the party vibe, very upbeat and naughty. Part of me thinks it should be called a bootleg or edit more than a remix because a lot of the original is kept the same, but what it does add is brilliant and stuff I feel the original was crying out for. So yeah, overall, very, very worthwhile. Then at number 24, we have the Eddy remix of Let Go by Deadmau5 and Grabbits. This is quite simply an Eddy version of probably Deadmau5's most revered tune of the last few years, so yeah. If you know his style and you know the original somewhat, it very much does what it says on the tin. Booming, tech-driven house kind of track, industrial, mysterious, alluring. It makes its presence felt in a multitude of ways and certainly leaves an impression. I would expect nothing less, so yeah, it delivers a lot. At number 23, we have the Caracal Project remix of Rushing Back by Flume. I love the atmosphere of this track, the emotional pull of it, the way it gradually teases and lures you in from the off. Short and sweet, but unravels its story well over its course. Heaviness imposes itself on you. Not particularly special ideas, but the depth of sound really leaves a mark. One of those that just continually flowers over its course, even though it is short, sonically and emotionally. At number 22, we have the Subfocus remix of Mother Tongue by Bring Me the Horizon. A really nice take here on Bring Me the Horizon, a beautiful integration of the vocal, a dreamy, euphoric quality to it, never goes overboard with the delivery and keeps it true to his approach and the original. Perhaps most importantly though, reminds me of originally getting into electronic music, a nostalgic appeal to it, which I love. His music has always been so good for that, and great to know that he's carrying that on even today. At number 21, we have Downlinks' take on Rumble by Excision and Space Laces, a pretty simple and straightforward one here in terms of the ideas, but the overall force of it, the placement of sounds, the definition and flavour of a lot of those sounds that we get in the drops just makes for such a solid edit. Lending from the original enough as well when it comes to vocal samples, the overall grand feel of it, keeps it interesting enough throughout, even though it does slow down a bit towards the end, so yeah, in many ways, just very, very good. Breaking into the top 20, and at number 20, we have one where the remix, or VIP in this case, a variation in production, runs very much like the original, just a different version, kinda section for section, almost mimicking it in a different way. And that is the Mega Punch VIP by Calcium. The sameness that I'm talking about here being that the first drop is far more emphatic than the second, which is just like the original. The first here in this VIP being my favourite across the original and VIP. It's pure ravenous Calcium. I love it. I enjoy the changes to the lead line as well, which we get in the introduction and elsewhere on the VIP, which is cool. Yeah, kind of changing up the main melody, if you will. Something I feel a VIP should do. So many touches as well to make it attention-grabbing and neat. I appreciate also the toning down for the second drop, but I do feel like a larger one would have put it higher here. Having said that, it is still very good, great even. Number 19. Now, sometimes you know the style of a particular artist really well, and you just want them to deliver exactly that on every tune, and that is the case here with the Phlegmatic Dogs remix of Russian Style by Volak. Just a really solid, classically chunky, meaty house banger here from Phlegmatic Dogs. Doesn't try to do too much, just plugs away and gives you hit after hit of devilish stabbing house. The vibe, swing, rhythm, flow, groove, it's all there. And as I said, just gives you a fresh injection of what you want from them. It's sweet, soothing, simple, I love it. Coming in at number 18, we have a song that I enjoyed in parts when I heard it for the first time, but the more I've listened, the more I've gotten out of it. And I've realised most here with this song that this is what this producer is best for. And that producer is voorso with his remix of Hold Your Breath by Hybrid. I love the way this one mutates and develops, earthy and oozy in the drops. The vocal sets up the heaviness so well in every instance. It's musically pretty on point, gets heavier as it goes on. Very ambitious as a combination of different sections and elements as well. My favourite voorso track so far, I'd have to say, which really does say a lot. Following on from there, number 17, we go back to the D&B. A song which again works with sounds from the original really well, just about enough to create quite an emphatic listen, and that is the Culprit remix of Ring Shifter by Mephius. Not as big on the ideas here as those in front of it, but the general sonic definition, some of the sounds themselves just make this such a good listen. All the jinks and turns in direction, the second drop in particular, is quite enthralling as a switch up. I like the fuzzy, futuristic aesthetic going on as well. It's pretty damn good overall. At number 16, we have a track that I didn't know I needed, Peekaboo in Mumba form. Just sets out what it wants to do early on and does its job extremely well, and that remix is the Ivar or Ivar flip of Motion by, of course, Peekaboo. It can be a really powerful thing, putting a style or approach in a different format altogether, and that's what we get here. It's lovely to hear Peekaboo's eerie sound kind of paced out like that. The drops have this demonic underlying pull to them, and on my first listen of it, it caught my ear straight away. Impactful stuff. I remember hearing it for that first time very vividly, and I have loved it ever since. Next up at number 15, we have a remix where I absolutely love the vibrancy, energy, and richness of its delivery, the emotion and feeling of it, and that is the Paul Flint remix of Beograd by Sebastian. I wouldn't pigeonhole this one into a particular genre as much as I would say it's like a particular artist, and that artist is Justice, and if you enjoy them even remotely, then you will love this track, plain and simple. It just has you locked in for the whole thing, through all its changes and peaks and troughs. It's a beautiful listen, so much good surging through it. A very, very powerful edit. At number 14, we venture into ATLiens territory again with the Bro Safari and Binks remix of Shelter. Everything here, you know, all the sounds are so well angled against each other, very cleverly assembled as a combination of sounds and ideas. It's like an assault, this track, gets at you in a wealth of different ways and is relentless in its delivery, and if you can appreciate the progression of it, it really is a captivating listen. Just about edges the Alan Mock and Herbalistic track, remixing the same song, one of the most ambitious that I heard this year, but this one feels more cohesive and finely cut, taking you in so many directions yet still feeling so together, and that's what makes it so good. Coming in at number 13. Now, I find it's very often that mid-tempo just doesn't quite hit right because of the execution or idea, but my word, this one really does hit. It's the Tenebrax remix of Ritual 4 by Cut Off Sky. So well constructed, this tune, very aware of its development. The drops are magnetic, adding new sounds in, the main vocal yelp or exclamation really gets you in the mood. I would show this to someone as an introductory mid-tempo tune. I feel it's that good, such a gravitas to it, and it's got pretty much everything you'd want in a track of that style, in my opinion. So yeah, really top stuff. At number 12, now once again this year, a nice range of Eliminate remixes and VIPs to choose from, but this one I find to be the most enthralling front to back, no question. And that's his take on Babatunde by Peekaboo and G-Rex. I love the squeaky, bubbly, vibrant feel to the drops here, like it's repeatedly swallowing you and spitting you out. So many ingenious little touches as well, with so much going on, and it runs the risk of becoming convoluted or muddled, but as we all know, such clean production from Eliminate, and he shows that again expertly here. It could have been expanded on melodically, emotionally a little more, but the snaky, winding nature of the heaviness makes it fully deserving of its spot here, no question. At number 11, we have a track I would show people to get them into house music. One that I haven't stopped listening to throughout the whole of 2019, or since it came out at least, and that is the J Robinson remix of 303 by Anna Luno. The bass line in this tune is one of the most fun, infectious and bubbly that I've heard in recent memory. The acid aesthetic going on here, it's so hard to tear yourself away from. The isolation as well of that bass line for the second drop is just so good. Really aware of its progression, well put together, and just knows what it wants to do in terms of bringing new sounds in, plays with the vocal expertly. It just about edges the Flavor D remix of the same song, which is also fantastic, perhaps more complete, but the bass line and overall groove of this one here, the J Robinson one, puts it out just in front. Breaking right into the top 10, and at number 10 we have a song that I heard many remixes of, and none of them hit the mark quite like this one. The original is All My Friends by Madeon, and the remix is by... who's it gonna be? I can hear you all guessing. It's Percy's. The one edit of this cut that I think gives it a new lease of life altogether, a menacing feel to it, but the execution is also so cheeky and easy to get into. I love the bounce of the drops, one housey, the other trappy, and a lot of the execution is so sharp. Points where there could be a couple more sounds in there added in, but I think you have to go off the general feeling here. Super infectious, naughty, feel good, giving a grand feel to the vocal in all aspects as well, wherever he can. Really does do a job to integrate it into the remix well. So overall, quite the rounded remix here, I would have to say. Percy's has put out quite a few remixes this year, but this one for me is the absolute cream of the crop. At number 9, now it can be scary to take on covering a classic, what with the original being so well known, but also exciting as a way of putting your own spin on it. Some producers do this in a compelling way, and I would say that of Volik and his cover of Opus by Fortet. Hearing his take on the original, which is quite the epic tune I would have to say, one that I've loved for a fair few years now, just adds another dimension to it, quite frankly. If you think the original, and then told through the lens of heavy electro dubstep Port Robinson, this is the result. He really respects the structure of the original, and I recommend listening to that original and then this, just to kind of get an appreciation and grip of the sense of story to it that we get here. It's incredible how it unravels, and Volik really does make it his own. Points where the direction of it isn't quite as genuine, but through so much of it, he takes the right steps. A hard thing to get right, but he does such a good job here. It's spine-tingling stuff. At number 8, we have another collab remix, and one that I enjoyed instantly a fair bit, realising its power more and more over the year, and that is the Imanu and Signal remix of Together, again by Mephius. I absolutely love the way the main drops dance along here, feathery, slightly glitchy, the animation of it, hopping from one spot to another, a real sense of scope and atmosphere to it, really intricate in its construction, it's detailed, flavoursome, rich, a mix of moods on show, taking you this way and that emotionally, and knowing the original really well, it just keeps you on the edge of your seat. On that note, another that plays with an original Mephius track so well, the main vocal refrain in particular is very astutely handled and manipulated here. This song just about edging out the Synergy and Signal remix of Progression by Misanthrop, and I think it's because of the strength of that original vocal, and with the heaviness as well, there is a lot of good to remember this one for. Swooping in at number 7, we have a track that I liked a decent amount on first listen, but which has revealed itself more and more to me over time, similar to many from this producer, and that producer is Chime, and it's his remix of Mistakes by Dodge and Fusky and Phase 1. For the most part, it is just vintage Chime, really, in terms of the melodic ambition of it, the combination of sounds, except it's a take on an original, so it's even more clever in a way. Those break moments in the progression of each drop, where he manipulates the vocal, some of my favourite moments of the whole year. Let me just play them here. Here we go. Ah! So good. The mix of sounds from him as per is incredible. Lots of video game synth usage, but the gnarliness of it as well. The different emotional directions it goes off in, the elements of surprise, it's pretty mad. And yeah, for me it just shows Chime to once again be one of the best in dubstep at the moment, for constantly leveling up his sound and ideas, taking them that one step further every chance and opportunity that he gets with it. And yeah, this remix for me is a perfect example of that. Coming in at number 6, another VIP, and one that I feel has a real class to it in its formulation, especially with regards to the original, and that is the Take It All VIP by QZB. Effortlessly done, the progression of it is incredible and seamless, musically so on point as a combination of Charlie Brix's vocal and QZB's instrumental. The warmth of the sound is too much to handle in a good way, you know, it really entices you, but at the same time it's such a spooky and uncomfortable listening experience, so that contrast just makes it so powerful. The drops are beautiful, he gets the execution spot on, everything works together so well, the background stuff adding to that general atmosphere so effectively. The original is much more inviting, but this one is so eerie in comparison and jarring in, again, the best way possible. A mix of welcoming and chilling, really leaves you unsure, subtle and moving, and yeah, just all round excellent. We are now in the top 5 remixes of 2019 in bass music from yours truly, and at number 5, this song has one of the best drops I've heard all year, no question. So good that it made it quite difficult to leave it outside the top 5. And that is the Wookie remix of Wasabi by Party Favor. Said brilliant first drop being the first one, such a bop. I love the skittish stuff on top as well. The execution of it with all these elements working together is spot on and exactly what you want from it. The second drop isn't as emphatic, but it provides a nice contrast, and I enjoy how it picks it up again in terms of the devilish, tribal feel that we get in that first drop. It's a real party song at heart. I also like the way that it gradually warms you up as the listener. It doesn't really let you know what you're in for at the beginning. It's like a surprise each time, and I think that kind of shows how unique it is, really. It could have been longer, it could have replicated that first drop later on, and it's the kind of tune that's over as it gets going, but I've realised that that's the point over time. It makes it more emphatic and memorable, so yeah, really is a top tune. At number 4, we have the most fun remix I've heard all year, another that I've got more out of as I've listened to it again and again. It's the Kuro remix of Punk Right Now by Hayo and Blau. This remix is just so joyous, you know, the way that Kuro play with the vocal perfectly across all aspects of the track, unapologetic in its bringing together of different vibes, so good. And that main vocal refrain is one of my favourites of the whole year. I got the bada bing bada pow, I got the bada bing bada pow. It's just so jumpy and infectious and makes it so easy to get into and go back to repeatedly. The variety in the drops as well. I mean, you have the two main ones which are very upbeat, and then they sandwich that breakdown in the middle drop, which ensures it's a nice drawn out length, this song, and not over quickly, which I think I could say for several on this list. But yeah, all the different forms of the vocal as well, it's just such a roller coaster ride, this edit, and I love it, you know, constantly bringing you one way and then another. It's so complete. Yeah, it has a really rounded and full feel to it. And yeah, as I said, absolutely adore this one. Taking the bronze medal now, I vividly remember hearing this tune for the first time live at Rampage Open Air Festival. I got my phone out quickly to film it when I heard the build, cause I just knew that it would be epic, and I did not stop watching that clip literally for a week. And that remix is the Sudden Death and Somnium Sound edit of Losing It by Fisher. Two wildly different drops in their feel, but both are so impactful in their own way. The first is super thick, heavy, dark, industrial dubstep, really laying it on and taking from the original expertly, and the second many have described as from the heavens in its classically infused delivery, holy and overpowering, a gripping little sequence. The length of it is perfect, a short and snappy take on the original, not as epic as those in front of it because of that, but I really wouldn't have it any other way. And if you haven't heard the original yet, just to see how they change it, then I really recommend doing so. You will love it even more. I also have to give a shout out to the Behemoth VIP and the Space Laces remix that Sudden Death did, but this one stands alone in its idea and delivery. Big ups to these two for such a beastly edit. Coming in at number 2, you know, VIPs are great because they provide an opportunity for a producer to completely reimagine one of their own songs, and that is what Virtual Riot does on the Lost It VIP. This is indeed him completely transforming his own work, front to back, flipping the original on its head in electrifying fashion, not just on an ideas level, but in terms of production quality as well, turning something mostly innocent into a true thriller. It's knockout Virtual Riot in full flow. It's so well cut, oh my god, riveting stuff, and it seems to bring together all sides of Virtual Riot when you take the bubblegum midsection into account as well. The kind of dubstep where if you're into that genre and you like it at that pace and heaviness, I just don't get how you don't like it. It completely grabs you by the scruff of the neck, switching so cleanly from one section to another wildly different one and back again. It's just mad and still not something I can quite get my head around. Firing on all cylinders in so many ways, incredibly rounded sound and just so well put together. Yeah, it's class. But at number 1, my favourite remix from the whole of this year, 2019, in bass music. A track that I wasn't particularly wowed by on my first listen of it, and that was because of the dubstep. It is a dubstep remix, and yeah, I loved a lot of other stuff about it, but that did stop me from loving it in its entirety. But the more I've listened to it, the more I've realised over time just how awesome it is. I can hear you trying to guess what it could be. What is it going to be? It is the Subtronics remix of Vault by Excision. This remix for me is one of those where you just have to sit back and think it does exactly what you want it to do, considering what the original is and who's remixing it. The energy beginning to end is brilliant, moments of surprise, how his style and purpose works with Excision's original sounds. It constantly keeps you guessing. The clinks and clanks of it, sounds firing at you from all directions, it's vibrant and mechanical. It's the exact kind of Subtronics I love. It's him in full flow. Couple that with the fantastic introduction, gets you hyped in every way so definitively by putting his own spin on it. With the vocal samples, it's just so time-stopping, pure chills, showing you, I think, in my opinion, how clever his production can be, the subtle changes he makes in the second drop as well. It's just so considered in spite of being so heavy, really pumps you up, great sounds on show, amazing structure, exactly how a Subtronics remix of Vault would go. You really wouldn't have it any different, and it says it all for how on point it is, and I think it's definitely the most complete remix I heard this year. The closest we got for me to something epic, not only in sound, but in the layout of it as well. It's stellar stuff and deserving of its number 1 spot. And so there we have it, guys, for the first video in the 2019 yearly favourites series, the top 30 remixes of 2019. Thank you very much, and as always, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed, but be sure to leave a comment with your thoughts on my list, but also with your favourite remixes of 2019. Which were your favourites of the whole year? Any that I missed out? I want to know them all. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video to the channel, and my social media accounts are linked in the description box down below. These are things that you're going to want to do in order to keep up with what's going on the channel this week. We've got top albums, EPs and singles to come, so make sure that you're locked in for all of that. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know, guys, so be sure, as always, to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you legends in the next one, the top 20 albums in bass music of this year, out on Wednesday. Peace out.